Our NFL Combine Players to Watch series continues here on the Raiders Report. This time, we're going to be looking at the top corners, safeties, and tight ends that I want the silver and black to take a little bit of a closer look at during the Combine. For those that don't know, DBs and tight ends, they are going to work together. They will speak to the media Thursday, February 27th, and they will work out Friday, February 28th. If you're looking for NFL Combine coverage, I promise you, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. We will do our best here at Chat Sports to keep you guys up to date, and we're going to be able to get you a lot more interviews since our team is there. So the way that we're going to do this is here. I'm going to start at tight end. We're going to look at corners, then we're going to look at safeties. But I'll be real, today's show is barely going to be any talk around tight end, and all of my concentration is on corners and safeties because I don't really think tight end is that big of a need for this organization. 21 total tight ends are going to be at the Combine. The Raiders obviously have Brock Bowers. The Raiders have Michael Mayer, but we do need a tight end 3 considering the fact that Harrison Bryant is a free agent. And I already know that people are going to go, Mitch, why are we talking about tight ends? Well, I don't really think many people thought the Raiders were going to take Brock Bowers last season. So my proof is, if the Raiders need a tight end 3, here are some names that we got to keep in mind. Now, I'm going to quickly roll through all of the names here, and you can see where they're at in terms of school. You can, if you want to do a little bit extra homework on any of these prospects out there, or if there's a certain tight end that you think is a really solid player from top to bottom and you want me to do more homework on, let me know down below in the comments section. Because to me personally, I'm really only going to watch 2 tight ends at the Combine. Not saying that I don't think that the Raiders could potentially draft one later on day 3, but there's 2 tight ends that I want to watch. The first one is Tyler Warren. Here's the thing. He ain't even going to be doing any drills. When I think of who could be a great tight end in the future up next to Brock Bowers, Warren's going to be somebody. But also Colston Loveland, who I would say is the number 2 tight end in this draft. He's been getting a lot of praise as well at 6'5", 245 pounds. Watch those 2 tight ends, and you can see how incredible they are. And then also realize that neither of them is even close to Brock Bowers. So out of these positions, what do you think is the biggest need? I'm going to throw in tight end just simply because that's part of this show. But when I saw DBs and tight ends, I was like, all right, you know what? For the first time in my life, I'm not interested in a tight end. I'm going to put that a little bit on the back burner, and I'm going to concentrate on the free safeties, the strong safeties, the corners. That's the biggest need for the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, it's the biggest need in terms of this video. Let's go to the cornerback spot next up here, and there are 31 total corners that are going to be attending the NFL Combine. Nate Hobbs, free agent. Jack Jones could be somebody on his way out, and Pete Carroll has always valued the defensive back position from Richard Sherman to Earl Thomas to Cam Chancellor. You couldn't make the Legion of Boom if it wasn't for some of those players. So some of the big-name guys right off the top, right, like a Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, a lot of attention's going to be on those guys. Jahdae Barron is actually somebody that's been shooting up some draft boards based on some of the reports we've been hearing. Kobe Bryant is another interesting player from top to bottom. Could be somebody the Raiders target in round 3, round 4. For Las Vegas, you got 10 total picks, and you could go a lot of different directions. This will be an organization that takes at least 1 corner in this year's draft, unless they go out and just spend all of their money in free agency on, let's say, 2 or 3 defensive back type of players, which they could go out and sign. I was actually told today by a source that the Raiders will spend big on the cornerback position, or at least the DB position in free agency, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to target a certain player in the draft. So what I did here is I found 5 players that I personally am going to be watching very closely at the NFL Combine. First one is Travis Hunter. I don't know if Hunter's going to be available to the Raiders at 6, but you know what? I've seen crazier things happen, and if you're Las Vegas and let's say you make a trade for Matthew Stafford, I'm trying to build as many players as I possibly can. Won the Heisman Trophy this past season, being listed as a wide receiver and as a DB and as a freak athlete. I want to see what he brings to the table. I want to see what he's able to do in all these different types of skill sets. I want to see how he does everything, because if you're somebody who wants to play both sides of the football, you better do shit at the NFL Combine that I don't know if we've ever seen before. Let's go to another play here. It's Will Johnson. Will Johnson, to me, if the Raiders want to look at trying to find a next Richard Sherman, and I'm not saying that Johnson and Sherman are similar players, but based on the build, Big, long, athletic corner. That's something that Pete Carroll has loved for a long time. My biggest weakness that I see Johnson have on tape is his recovery speed. I want to see what he runs in the 40. I want to see what he runs in that first 10 yards of that 40, because if it's slow, I'm not saying it's going to take away from him. He had some injuries this past season. Quite frankly, I actually think I like his tape in 2023 a little bit more. But Will Johnson, I would say, is the number 2 corner in this year's draft. And if he has a bad combine, he could fall to number 3. We will get into some other players here that I'm going to be watching at the Combine in just a moment, but I got to show some love to our sponsor here, Factor. And I'll tell you this, Factor is really changing the game, not only for me, but heck, I bet you if there were some of these players that needed a nice little snackaroo at the Combine, they should check out Factor. If you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that you can make easy. They are dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel and feel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/FactorPodcast to get 50% off free shipping on your first box. I personally have been using Factor for a long time, and it's no secret. I got a wedding, which, funny enough, at the time I'm recording this video, 100 days away. 100 days and I'm going to get married. Wild, wild statement. But I have been trying to lose some weight. I have been trying to get into better shape, and I've been meal prepping, and Factor has really helped me and my fiance Alex with that. So if you want some healthier meals, factormeals.com/FactorPodcast. Let's keep it moving here. Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback from ECU. I like this kid a lot. He's big, he's long, and he's got legit speed and great ball skills. 17 pass breakups and 15 starts at Eastern Carolina. He did tear his ACL in September, which medicals for him is going to be extremely important, because if he's out there and he's playing, he gets a lot more attention. And I'm not going to give him the attention of a Quinyon Mitchell, because Quinyon Mitchell to me was a better prospect than what Siobhan Revel Jr. is, though. If he plays the whole year, I think people are talking about him being a no-doubt round 1 pick. If the medical comes back good, he's going to test really well. Kid's a special athlete. Let's go to another player that's flying up my board, and this is somebody that Raiders fans, I'm telling you, are going to fall in love with. Quincy Riley from Louisville. Undersized, but he's just extremely athletic, and he looks awesome in man-to-man coverage. When you line him up against somebody, he's ready for the challenge right away. He's got a clear nose for the football, 15 career interceptions, and if anybody out there kind of missed like Amik Robertson, I'm not trying to compare the two players, but Amik's ability and short area quickness was special. Quincy Riley, 6', 195, the way he plays, the way he carries himself out there on the field, his athletic ability. Imagine if Amik Robertson was 6', 195 pounds and more talented. That's kind of what Quincy Riley reminds me of on tape. Let's go to another player here that I want the nation to watch at the Combine. It's Noel Williams from Cal. I like watching good athletes. That's part of the Underwear Olympics, right? Noel Williams is a hell of an athlete, and he was great at UNLV for 3 seasons. Then he ended up transferring to Cal, and it was just simply spectacular. The ball skills you can't deny. 7 interceptions, 16 PBUs. People are going to question his speed, which is fair. It deserves to be questioned. But his 40 time, it's going to be important. But I already watched the tape, and I like the tape that I see when you go out and you watch Williams, 6 foot, 200 pounds. And I don't want to be discredited or scared if the 40 time is lower than maybe what some of the tape is going to show. Noel Williams is a baller, and if he has a good combine, he could be somebody that gets taken in the top 3 rounds. So what I want you guys to do now is name a corner that you're excited to watch at the Combine. Let me know down below. There's 31 players. I gave you 5 names, and 2 of them were Duh, Mitch. Will Johnson and Travis Hunter, everybody's going to watch. I get it. So let me know some other corners that I should watch. Let's go to the safety position now. And there's still a lot of players that you could potentially look at, but safety is extremely important for Pete Carroll. 25 total safeties at the combine. Merrick and Marcus Epps are both free agents. Merrick's the free safety. Epps is the strong safety, but the Raiders have already re-signed Isaiah Palomalo this offseason to a 2-year, $8.45 million deal, showing that they value versatility and they value a young player like Palomalo. And one of the things that I'll always look at a safety, especially a little bit later on in the draft, is can they also provide me with some special teams value? If this is a team that's going to be looking for a lot of depth, they're going to be looking for a lot of people that can help out on special teams, and there's a lot of different names that you could potentially look at. For me personally, I don't see the Raiders drafting a safety on the first 2 days of the draft. They're probably going to be looking on day 3, which is round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7. And a lot of the prospects that I'm about to talk about are going to be earlier in the draft. But still, when you look at safeties, I want to look at the top guys, and then you can evaluate from there on out. The top guy here in this year's draft is Malaki Starks from Georgia. And he's a true do-it-all type of safety. And the fact that he is a guy that can drop back into coverage, that can stop the run, he's just not afraid of any type of situation. He does have a tendency to get beat, but at times I almost wonder if that's just the style of defense Georgia was playing, where he kind of creeps up a little bit, and then teams take a shot deep because they're just trying to catch back up, which did happen to him from time to time. He's 6'1", he's 205 pounds, he's physical, 77 tackles. Malaki Starks is one of these players where everybody keeps asking me, Mitch, can we find the next Cam Chancellor? Can we find the next Cam Chancellor? I don't know if Cam Chancellors grow on trees, but this next player, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Nick Emawari, and I don't think I pronounced that right. Emawari from South Carolina, and this is one of those dynamic players, and he said at the Combine that he models his game after Derwin James Jr., and quite frankly, you can see it on tape. He kind of plays like Derwin James, where he's not afraid to tackle, he can drop back, he just does everything really, really well. He's a tackling machine, and he's so good at the underneath routes. You're not going to have him drop back deep into coverage. That's not where he's going to be good. But if you want to put a safety up near the box and let him cover tight ends, running backs on these underneath routes, that's pretty good. The quick area quickness sounds weird, but he is quick in these short box type of situations, moving left and right. At 6'3", 227 pounds, Cam Chancellor was 6'3", 232. I'm just saying, right? And I don't see the Raiders taking him this early, but if they were to take a safety, if you told me right now the Raiders took a safety at pick 37, I think it's Nick right here. Let's go to another safety here that I like a lot in the more and more tape I watch on him, Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. He is the first 2-time consensus All-American since 1993 for the Fighting Irish. Average speed, no doubt about it. And people are going to get scared, I think, when they see what his 40 time is. He does need to test well. But with 13 interceptions, I'm one of these guys where I don't hate when somebody has a bad combine, when their tape looks great. And Xavier Watts' tape, he's just always in the right place at the right time. I don't care if you're slow. I don't care if people say that you're undersized or blah, blah, blah. When you're getting out there and you're putting good tape out and you're helping your football team win and you just seem to be in the right place at the right time, that's so critical in a Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham defense, especially at the safety position. Let's go to one of my favorite prospects, and I'm a Penn State guy, so I wanted to throw Kevin Winston Jr. in here because maybe not a lot of people knew about him. I would say he was a top 50 player based on talent and talent alone, but he tore his ACL week 2, and that cost him his entire season. If he tests well, people are going to see that he's healthy, and people are going to remember how talented he is, and his stock is going to go back up. He was a team captain at Penn State. He's got NFL size. He's got long arms. He is still a very extremely raw prospect, but I'm not afraid of raw prospects, especially when you got Patrick Graham, when you have the defensive coaching staff that we have. If you're telling me right now who's going to be a safety that we could consider to be a Pro Bowler in 2 to 3 years down the line that got drafted on day 3, my answer, Kevin Winston Jr. Let's go to the final name here, and it's going to be Billy Bowman, who, funny enough, is really like right down the street. And I think he went to North Texas, right? He went to Denton. Sorry, I was thinking In high school. Yeah, I was gonna say, I knew he was from around here. And again, when I say from around here, we live down here in Dallas, Chugs and I. Very smart football player, tons of versatility. Y'all know how much I love versatility. And he moves easily. Good speed, good quickness. I want to see what his 3-cone drill looks like because I think it's going to surprise some people. He's undersized, and he's not the best tackler. But we talked about Cam Chancellor. If you want to try to go out and find your next Earl Thomas, Billy Bowman Jr., the way he moves, I think it could be similar to the way that the Seahawks used to use an Earl Thomas. That's why I want y'all to watch these type of prospects from top to bottom. You need to be checking them out. So who's a safety that you're excited to watch at the Combine? Because the Raiders are obviously going to be looking at these type of players from top to bottom, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft. Give me a safety that you want to see at the Combine. Now, I told you when I started this show, I'm going to do a series. I've already put out a video on the top defensive linemen and the top linebackers to watch at the Combine, and I've already put out a video on the quarterbacks. I didn't want to do this video for quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs because it would have been an hour long. So I just said QBs get their own spot. This video is going to be down in the comments and in the description of the show. And if you want to check out some of the top edges, DTs, and linebackers that I want people to watch at the Combine, that video is also going to be down in the comments and the description of today's show. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We will be live later on today here on the Raiders Report, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Pull up for Brandon Jasper.